Crack baby. Preach. I was born June 17th, 1988, to a Mark A. Barney, who's currently serving life in a federal prison for moving over 150 keys. I was also born to a Charlisa M. White, who has now a master's degree in business, but at the time had to overcome a crack addiction. So at the time of conception, she was fighting an addiction, which means born in the 80s, crack baby. Well, we take a step back to understand is that to think that my success was written in the early 80s when the CIA decided to fund their own operations, leveraging drug money out of the black communities. Before my existence was even thought of, my story was already being written. When crack cocaine came into the United States, it didn't come into the United States as crack rock. It took a clever brother out of our communities to figure out how to make more money off of illegal drug for us to get rich. But what happened is that when the crack epidemic hit, you had two men in our communities, ones that was getting rich and ones that was searching for a fix. The ones that searched for a fix heightened the crime rate, heightened the murder rate, heightened the incarceration rate, heightened the rate of fatherhood in the homes in the community of people that look like me. For those that was getting rich, they set the tone for the lifestyle that rappers would live and will continue to propel into the society that we live in today. From expensive jewelry to nice cars, to fly chips, to nice clothes, to fly whips. Everything that has made me who I am was created off the crack epidemic. For the women, giving birth to the children, it had a different side effect that nobody thought about. The side effect of miscarriages, underweight children, underdeveloped brains. These are all things that came about from the crack epidemic, which I'm a direct product of. But when my mother gave birth, June 17th, 1988, to her third youngest child, he didn't come out underweight. He didn't come out early. He came out big five. But to no prevail, the crack epidemic was already written for my story. So the things that I couldn't see, that the doctors couldn't see, had already been written that wouldn't be discovered till third grade. When they figure out I have below average test score, when they figure out that I have Excel comprehension and I can retain information very well, but my attention span is very short. My ability to follow instructions was very short. I could go to school for 8 hours and couldn't tell you what I learned because I couldn't pay attention unless it was something that was of my interest. So, look at my success and I try to ask myself, how does someone who dropped out of high school gain the #1 financial literacy community in the world? I look to myself and figure out that the crack epidemic wasn't a hindrance for my life. It was a steroid for my greatness. See, I couldn't pay attention to the lessons of somebody else that I didn't care about. I couldn't understand and go to school for 8 hours to get a degree, to go get a job, because I couldn't follow orders. Due to the fact that I couldn't follow orders, pushed me into entrepreneurship, because I wouldn't be able to survive in an organized environment. At 21 years old, I took entrepreneurship serious. The reason I took entrepreneurship serious was because of the desires that I had from seeing the reflection of the crack epidemic in my community. I seen the nice cars, I seen the nice houses, I seen the jewelry, I seen everything that I desired. But the way that they told me that I had to get it, I couldn't relate with. So as I started to gain momentum as an entrepreneur, the only reason I was able to become an entrepreneur was because I couldn't be a student. The only reason I was able to become an entrepreneur was because I couldn't be an employee. The only reason I'm able to be a successful entrepreneur is because I can't follow anybody else's direction. So as I stumbled into entrepreneurship, I was able to propel people to walk away from a 9-to-5. The simple fact that I was able to propel 300 people to walk away from a 9-to-5 was because of the fact that the methods that I use to not be an entrepreneur and not be an employee was things that I can pass on to others. See, everybody's not a crack baby, so everybody don't got the birth deficiencies that I have. But my attention to detail to not do things have helped me become great at the things that I am able to do. So the thing that I learned first was how to actually leverage things to my benefit. If it doesn't benefit me, I can't pay attention to it. And there was a thing called credit. Everybody said, yo, you need to have good credit, but I couldn't for the life of me understand why. Why would I spend all my time trying to perfect this thing called credit and it had no benefit? I had to make this thing called credit have a benefit, or else I couldn't pay attention to it. See, I had to make these things called liabilities have a benefit because it was the things that I desired. So at that point, I was able to then turn liabilities into asset. I turned something like credit that was super dangerous into an asset that most people feared and were hurt from because of a lack of financial education. So my financial education was only stemmed from the fact of the matter that I had nothing else to go. I had nowhere else to go. So I was able to create a program called Recession Proof because I made myself recession proof. And the reason that I made myself recession proof was because I understood how to do something outside of the box. I learned how to think outside of the box. As we struggle in our households with financial literacy, when we struggle in our household with financial independence, to think that if I would have followed that they planned us to have, when they told us to go to school, they told us to go to college, that was never set out. But see, the same thing that they did to fund their own wars was the things that helped make me great, because the fact I cannot follow your path now because of my lack of attention. So since I can't follow your path, my own path, when I went on my own path, I happened to take 300 people with me that happened to walk away from a 9-to-5. I happened to take 10 people with me who have now became millionaires. So now I stand there and say, listen, I've been able to create 10 millionaires because I went down a path by myself. I went down a path. I went down a path that my family thought I sold drugs because there's no way that you can make money on your own talking about credit and becoming a millionaire. So now, as I look back at the #1 financial literacy community in the world, I say to myself, damn, I was born in the 80s, crack baby. This is what made me. This is what made me successful. This is what made me be able to go hundreds of people across the world, not hundreds, thousands. Matter of fact, let's not thousands, it was hundreds of thousands. And these people have now been impacted. Why? Because of the fact that I had a lack of attention to detail, right? And it came to my realization when they told me to prepare to actually do a speech and say, yo, why are you successful? Just talk about the reasons that you're successful. And I could tell people I'm successful because I've helped over 300,000 people fix their credit for free. They would say, why are you successful for that? That's just doing a good deed. I said, no, but my brain was smart enough to get on large platforms, and I would tell people cool things like, if you text the word WG to 404-737-3767, I'll give you a free blueprint to fix your credit for free. And now I have a text code for over 300,000 people who I was able to directly impact. And people ask me all the time, yo, that's cool marketing strategies, but what made you become successful? The only reason I'm successful as I am, and the majority of the people who will speak that you see become successful, is because they had to accept the uncomfortable thing. They had to accept the truth and the reality of who they were. The only reason I'm successful is because I accepted my downfalls, my shortcomings, and I embraced that to make myself better. That's the only reason I'm successful. And a lot of us aren't successful, and a lot of people won't become successful because they haven't accepted the fact that they're a crack baby. See, I'm not successful because I'm a crack baby. I'm successful because I accepted my truth. I'm successful because I accepted me. See? And so as we go on our paths, and we go down the path and we look back on our life, I challenge you to challenge yourself to look through a microscopic lens at who you really are, what really defines you, what really propels you, and what really holds you back, and accept and channel your inner crack baby and understand. I was born in the 80s, crack baby, and that's what made me.